Hey true crime detectives, no matter where you're watching from today, whether it's across America or somewhere around the globe, welcome to another dark journey into the forgotten corners of small-town America. If you're joining our investigation team for the first time, hit that subscribe button right now to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Every new detective counts. Now, let's begin our investigation. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and the one person you love more than anything, your daughter, your best friend, was gone without a trace? That's what happened in Evergreen, Alabama, on a cool October evening in 1978. A 16-year-old girl named Lisa Whitaker vanished. Just like that. No warning. No reason. And no one saw it coming. Lisa wasn't the kind of girl who would just disappear. She worked at the local diner, helped her mom with chores around the house, and always came home on time. She wasn't a runaway. She was loved. She was seen. And then, nothing. Her mother, Jean Whitaker, had that sinking feeling the second Lisa didn't come home. She wasn't like other parents who would chalk it up to teens being teens. Jean knew. She just knew. Something was wrong. So, she walked the streets of Evergreen, asking anyone if they had seen her daughter. But no one had. Tom Whitaker, Lisa's father, a seasoned Alabama state trooper, wasn't about to let his daughter's case slip through the cracks. The police department in their small town was underfunded, underprepared, and underwhelming. But Tom? He was on it. He gathered his resources and started digging. Searching. Working. Whatever it took to find Lisa. But what was there to find? No evidence. No signs of struggle. No footprints leading away from the house. Just an empty room. A bed that had never been slept in. And the faintest trace of a life that had been yanked away. The whole town rallied. Volunteers set out to search the woods, the fields, even the still waters of the Alabama River. They followed every lead, no matter how far-fetched. Every tip felt like it could be the breakthrough they needed. But nothing came. No answers. Just more confusion. Some people whispered that Lisa had run away, gone off with a boyfriend, or maybe she was trying to start over. Others said something darker was at play. A stranger? Someone lurking in the shadows? If you think you know what happened to Lisa Whitaker, I want to hear your theories. Take a second right now to hit that like button if you're on team This Was No Accident, or leave a comment if you're suspecting someone close to her. Your detective work helps our channel grow and brings more attention to forgotten cases like this. By the end of the first week, Evergreen had turned into a town obsessed with finding Lisa. But as days bled into weeks, and weeks turned into months, it became clear Lisa was gone. And with her disappearance came the most terrifying question of all. Who in Evergreen knew the truth about what happened to Lisa Whitaker? Could it have been someone she trusted? Could it have been someone close to her? Drop your theories in the comments below. Because right now, we're about to dive into the investigation that unearthed a secret no one saw coming. It wasn't until 2019, more than 40 years after Lisa Whitaker vanished, that the case would finally reopen, thanks to someone with a different perspective, someone who had lived through the whispers and the secrecy of Evergreen. Detective Riley Hart wasn't new to cold cases, but this one was personal. Riley had grown up in Evergreen. She knew the streets, the corners where people talked, the places where no one dared to dig too deep. She had spent her childhood watching the town keep its secrets buried beneath its perfect, peaceful facade. When the case landed on her desk, she had no idea what she was walking into. The old files were filled with frustration, dead-end leads, and theories that didn't fit the facts. Everyone in Evergreen had moved on. The case had gone cold for so long that no one really believed they would ever get answers. I need all you true crime sleuths with me on this one. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't joined our investigation team yet, now's the time to hit subscribe. We're building a community that refuses to let these stories fade away, just like Detective Riley refused to let Lisa's case go cold. It was the old interviews that started to gnaw at Riley, the ones with witnesses who thought they had seen Lisa with a boy, but couldn't remember his name. The rumors of an older man seen around the time of Lisa's disappearance. The town had always been quick to jump to conclusions, to point fingers, but nobody ever really had the guts to question what was right under their noses. The one thing that stood out to Riley, the thing that she couldn't shake, was a small detail no one had ever followed up on. Lisa had been receiving phone calls in the weeks before she disappeared. The phone records from the local provider had been archived and never properly reviewed, but Riley wasn't going to let that slide. Tracking down the number wasn't easy. Riley worked tirelessly, tapping into every connection she had, and eventually, after days of digging, the number led her to someone who, at first glance, seemed completely unrelated to the case. It was a local man named Carl "Buddy" Jenkins, known for his mild-mannered personality and his unassuming life as a mechanic. He'd been a volunteer during the initial search for Lisa. He had even been there when Lisa's body was never found. But the deeper Riley dug, the more she realized that Buddy Jenkins was not as innocent as he appeared. Together with private investigator Marcus Bird, they began to trace Buddy's every move. At first, it was just a feeling, something didn't sit right about him. And then, it happened. Riley stumbled across something that made her blood run cold, a journal entry from Jean Whitaker, Lisa's mother, that mentioned a violent argument between Lisa and Buddy the night she disappeared. Jean had written about how Lisa had confronted Buddy about his affair with her mother, Jean. The argument had escalated, but no one had connected the dots until now. Share this video right now if you believe small towns harbor the darkest secrets. Every share helps us bring forgotten cases to light and gets us closer to our 1,000 subscriber goal. Are you Team Riley, working to expose the truth, or Team Buddy, hoping his secrets stay buried? Show your allegiance with a like and a comment. Buddy Jenkins had always been seen as a helpful, trustworthy man in Evergreen, but the more Riley and Marcus uncovered, the clearer it became Buddy Jenkins had more to hide than anyone could have guessed. And with every new piece of evidence, it became harder to ignore the terrifying possibility. Buddy Jenkins might have been the last person to see Lisa alive. What did Buddy know about Lisa's disappearance? Why was he so involved in the search? Could he have been hiding something more sinister? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're diving deeper, and the truth is getting harder to ignore. The deeper Riley and Marcus dug into Buddy Jenkins's life, the more unsettling the discoveries became. Buddy wasn't just a small-town mechanic who had found himself wrapped up in a tragedy. No, he was someone who had been hiding behind a carefully crafted facade for decades. They started by pulling Buddy's records from the original investigation. There was a name that kept popping up, Emily Harris. A girl who had gone missing in 1974, just 4 years before Lisa's disappearance. Emily, too, was from Evergreen. She had been 17 at the time, walking home from a friend's house when she vanished. With Marcus's help, they managed to dig deeper into Buddy's past, and the pieces started to fall into place. Emily's case had been buried under the weight of its own uncertainty, but now Riley saw something that everyone else had missed. Buddy had been the last person to see Emily Harris alive. The connection was chilling. It wasn't long before Riley tracked down the people who had known Buddy and Emily in high school. They had graduated together. And when Riley asked about Buddy, some of them hesitated. But eventually, the truth came out. Emily had been dating Buddy, or at least she had been until she started to get too serious about the relationship. The report said that Emily had been planning to tell her parents about her secret romance with Buddy the night she disappeared. I need to know where you're watching our investigation from. Type your location in the comments right now. If you're as invested in finding justice for Lisa and Emily as we are, make sure you've subscribed. We're building a community of truth seekers who refuse to let these stories be forgotten. Every subscriber brings us one step closer to 1,000, and more importantly, one step closer to justice. The more Riley and Marcus uncovered, the more the timeline began to form a picture they hadn't expected. Emily had confronted Buddy. She had found out about his affair with Jean Whittaker, and the two had argued. Emily had threatened to expose him, and Buddy had responded. It was the same story with Lisa. But there was something Riley couldn't wrap her head around. Why hadn't anyone put this together sooner? Why had Buddy been allowed to go on with his life? To attend vigils for missing girls, to live in the same town, to be the guy everyone trusted? The answers weren't just hidden in the past, they were hidden in plain sight. Riley's mind was racing as she pieced everything together. Buddy had a history. And now, as she stared at the case files in front of her, she realized Buddy wasn't just involved in Lisa's disappearance. He had been hiding his dark secret in plain view for decades. And he wasn't working alone. Riley and Marcus began to dig into Buddy's family, specifically his wife, Sarah Jenkins. Sarah had always been seen as the doting wife, the woman who volunteered at the church, the one who helped everyone when they were down. But Riley began to notice something odd. Sarah had been eerily quiet during the investigation. Too quiet. They found Sarah's old journal entries, hidden away in an attic box, forgotten and tucked into corners where no one had bothered to look. The entries were revealing. Sarah had known about Buddy's affair with Jean Whittaker. She had been complicit in the cover-up. For decades, Sarah Jenkins had been the one to keep the secret, to keep Evergreen quiet. And now it was all coming to light. Are you Team Justice or Team Cover-Up? If you believe these girls deserve the truth to come out after all these years, smash that like button right now. Every engagement helps us bring more attention to cold cases like this one. Share this video with anyone who appreciates true investigative journalism. Together we can make sure Lisa and Emily are never forgotten. Who else knew about Buddy's dark past? Who else was hiding the truth? The walls are closing in on Buddy and Sarah Jenkins, but is it too late for justice? Drop your theories in the comments below. Riley and Marcus were closing in. Every step they took toward Buddy Jenkins felt like walking through a fog, thick, disorienting, and laced with the unease of knowing they were about to uncover something they might not be ready for. Riley called Buddy in for a second round of questioning. When Buddy Jenkins walked into the interrogation room, his usual calm demeanor was gone. He was visibly shaken, his shoulders hunched, his hands twitching nervously. Riley didn't waste time. Buddy, we know what you did. We know about the affair with Jean Whittaker. We know about the argument you had with Lisa the night she disappeared. And we know that you were the last person to see her alive. Buddy's face paled, his eyes darting around the room. He swallowed hard but didn't say a word. Finally, Buddy broke. He looked up, his eyes filled with fear, regret, and something else, something darker. I didn't mean to kill her, he whispered, his voice cracking. It was an accident. She wouldn't let it go. She was going to tell everyone about Jean and me. She was going to ruin everything. I didn't know what else to do. This is where I need all of you watching to weigh in, no matter where you're tuning in from around the world. Do you believe Buddy's claim that it was an accident? Or do you think this was premeditated? Hit subscribe now if you want to follow this case through to its conclusion and help us reach our goal of 1,000 truth seekers. Your support means we can continue investigating cases that others have forgotten. But you did kill her, buddy, Marcus interjected. You didn't just kill her. You hid her body. You lied to everyone, including her mother. You kept this secret for 40 years. Buddy's eyes welled up with tears, but there was no real remorse in them. I didn't mean to. It was a fight. I was angry. And when she threatened to expose everything, I snapped. He paused, as if the weight of his words hit him for the first time. But I didn't kill Emily. I swear. That was different. Riley leaned forward, her voice low and steady. We know about Emily. And we know about you and Sarah. How long have you two been covering for each other, Buddy? Buddy's head snapped up. Sarah had nothing to do with it. She didn't know. She couldn't, don't lie, Riley cut him off, her patience thinning. We found the journals, Buddy. We found the letters Sarah wrote, helping you cover it all up, planting evidence, giving you alibis. Sarah knew. She knew everything. Buddy's face crumpled, and for the first time, he seemed to understand the gravity of his situation. Please. You don't understand. Sarah was just trying to protect me. We were both scared. We never meant for it to go this far. Riley stood up, walking slowly around the table. This man who had hidden in plain sight, who had fooled the entire town, had just admitted everything. He was a monster, plain and simple. But even more chilling was the fact that Sarah had helped him. That Sarah had kept the secret for all these years. Buddy Jenkins wasn't the only one who needed to be held accountable. We're going to arrest you now, Buddy, Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. And Sarah Jenkins is going to be arrested too. You two aren't getting away with this anymore. What will happen when Buddy and Sarah are finally held accountable? Will the town of Evergreen ever recover from these dark secrets? If you're as outraged by this cover-up as I am, show it by leaving a comment right now. Every comment, like, and share helps bring justice to Lisa, Emily, and countless other forgotten victims. We're fighting to reach 1,000 subscribers who stand on the side of truth. Which side are you on? The discovery came from an unexpected place, the old Blackwood coal mine. It was a place everyone in Evergreen knew, but no one really thought about. Abandoned since the early 80s, the mine had been a source of childhood mischief, teenagers sneaking in, daring each other to explore the crumbling tunnels. The first breakthrough came when Riley and Marcus went back to the mine. They weren't expecting much. They'd combed through the place years ago during the original investigation, but this time, Riley had a gut feeling they were missing something. It didn't take long to find it. Behind a barricade of rocks, hidden in a small, almost inaccessible section of the mine, they discovered something chilling, two sets of remains, side by side, still wearing the tattered remains of their clothes. The remains were barely visible beneath the rubble, but the fabric was unmistakable. The torn blue uniforms worn by the Whitaker twins at Murphy's Diner. Lisa Whitaker had been buried there, in the heart of the mine, hidden from the world for over 4 decades. And so had Emily Harris. She had been there, too, just like Lisa, buried in a remote corner of the mine where no one thought to look. As forensic experts arrived, Riley and Marcus stood silent, their eyes fixed on the uncovered remains. DNA tests confirmed the identities quickly. This wasn't a case of mistaken identity or misdirection. These were the girls who had been stolen from their families, taken by the one man who had fooled everyone. This case is why our channel exists, to shine light into the darkest corners where killers think their secrets are safe. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. If you believe in our mission to bring justice to forgotten victims like Lisa and Emily, subscribe right now and help us reach our goal of 1,000 truth seekers. Together, we're making sure these stories aren't buried like these girls were. The case had taken a dark turn, deeper and darker than anyone could have anticipated. Riley and Marcus were standing on the edge of a revelation that would send shockwaves through the town. When the authorities dug deeper into Buddy's past, they uncovered records showing he had been the last known person to see multiple young women who had gone missing in the area over the years. Some had never been found, their disappearances written off as runaways or tragic accidents. But Riley knew, she just knew, that Buddy had been involved in more than Lisa and Emily's cases. The mine wasn't just where they had been buried, it was where Buddy had made his final, fatal mistake. Riley and Marcus stood over the remains, the weight of the case sinking in. "This isn't over, is it?" Marcus said quietly, his voice strained with the burden of what they had uncovered. "No," Riley said, her voice unwavering. "It's just beginning. There are more people out there who need to know the truth. And we're going to make sure they do." What else is hidden in Evergreen? How many more secrets have been buried for years? The truth is getting harder to ignore. The courtroom was packed, every seat taken by a resident of Evergreen, eager to watch the drama unfold. For years, the town had lived in a kind of suspended disbelief, holding on to the myth of Buddy Jenkins, the mechanic who could do no wrong. Now, as the trial began, everyone was forced to confront the unthinkable. As the prosecutor stood to present the opening statement, the room fell silent. The prosecutor laid out the timeline of events, from Lisa's disappearance in 1978 to the startling discoveries in 2019. He presented the evidence, the phone records, the journals, the DNA, and painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. Buddy Jenkins, once a trusted member of the community, had killed Lisa Whitaker. And not just Lisa, he had killed Emily Harris as well. If you're invested in seeing justice served in this case, I need you to do two things right now. First, hit that like button to show you're on Team Justice. Second, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We're fighting to reach 1,000 subscribers who stand for truth and justice, people like you who refuse to let killers walk free while families suffer in silence. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. The defense team was next. Buddy's attorney was smooth, polished, and well prepared. He presented Buddy as a man who had been caught up in the heat of the moment, a man who made a terrible mistake, a man who didn't deserve the harsh punishment the prosecution was seeking. But Riley knew better. She had spent months uncovering the truth. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a man who had systematically silenced the people who stood in the way of his secrets. The prosecution called Riley to the stand. As she walked to the front of the courtroom, she felt the weight of every eye in the room. She knew what was at stake. This was her moment to lay out the truth, to show the world exactly who Buddy Jenkins was. Riley recounted the investigation, how she had tracked down the old phone records, how she had uncovered the hidden journals, how she had pieced together the puzzle that no one else had dared to solve. She spoke of the chilling discoveries at the Blackwood mine, of the remains that had finally brought closure to the Whitaker and Harris families. And she spoke of the confession Buddy had made, the moment when his facade finally cracked. But it wasn't just about Buddy anymore. It was about the community of Evergreen, a town that had been complicit in ignoring the darkness lurking in their midst. It was about how the people who had known Buddy Jenkins for decades had never thought to question him, had never looked too closely at the man who had gained their trust, only to betray it in the worst way possible. The trial continued, and the emotional toll on the Whitaker family became more evident. Jean had to relive every painful moment of her daughter's disappearance, every hour of waiting, every false lead. And then there was the community, the people who had once trusted Buddy, the people who had turned a blind eye to his behavior, the people who had known but never questioned. This is one of the most disturbing cases we've covered on the channel. If you believe these families deserve justice after decades of suffering, share this video right now. Every share brings more attention to this case and helps us grow our community of truth seekers. We're working toward 1,000 subscribers who stand against killers like Buddy Jenkins. Are you with us? The jury deliberated for hours. Riley watched, waiting, knowing that the moment they had all been waiting for was close. She wasn't just waiting for justice for Lisa and Emily. She was waiting for Evergreen to finally come to terms with what had been hidden in plain sight for so many years. When the verdict was read, there was no sense of victory. Only the hollow sound of justice being served and the weight of what had been lost. Buddy Jenkins was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sarah Jenkins received a 25-year sentence, though the judge made it clear that her role in the cover-up had been just as damaging as Buddy's crime. But even as the gavel came down, the truth still felt heavy. The town would never be the same. The walls had come down, but the damage had already been done. The gavel came down with a sharp, final thud that echoed through the courtroom, signaling the end of the trial but the beginning of something much harder to face, the aftermath. The words "life without parole" hung in the air like a thick fog. Buddy Jenkins would never see the outside world again. Riley sat in the back, the weight of the moment settling in her chest. She had seen criminals sentenced before, but this was different. This wasn't just about justice, it was about a community that had been deceived, a town that had been betrayed by the very man they had welcomed with open arms. Buddy Jenkins was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. The sentence was swift, but there was no joy in the sentencing, only the lingering sadness of knowing that Lisa Whitaker and Emily Harris would never come back. Where are you watching our investigation from today? Let me know in the comments. If this case has moved you, if you believe in what we're doing to bring light to these forgotten stories, please subscribe right now. We're so close to our goal of 1,000 subscribers, people who stand for truth, justice, and giving a voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. Later that evening, Riley visited the Whitakers' home. She had been dreading this moment, but she knew it was necessary. Jean and Tom had waited decades for this, and now, at least, they had some sense of justice. "You did it," Jean said quietly. "You gave us the answers we needed. You found Lisa." Riley nodded, unable to find the words. She had done her job, yes. But the cost of this case, the pain it had caused, would never truly go away. "I didn't just find Lisa, Jean," Riley said softly. "I found the truth. And that's the hardest part. Sometimes the truth isn't as freeing as people think. It doesn't always bring closure." Jean sighed, her eyes filled with both relief and sorrow. "I know. But knowing what happened to Lisa, it's better than not knowing. I can finally tell myself that she didn't just disappear. That someone was responsible. That justice was done." As Riley left the Whitaker home that evening, she felt a strange emptiness. The case was over, but the emotional toll was far from finished. It wasn't just about the verdict. It was about everything that had been lost, lives, trust, and a sense of safety that had been shattered. The streets of Evergreen were quieter now, the kind of silence that comes after a storm has passed, calm, but heavy with the remnants of what it left behind. The trial was over. The verdicts had been read. But for the people of Evergreen, the real work was just beginning. Evergreen will never be the same, but the truth is out. Lisa Whitaker and Emily Harris are finally at rest. Can the town heal from the darkness that once lived in plain sight? This is where I need your help. If you believe in what we do, uncovering the truth and bringing justice to forgotten victims, please subscribe right now. Your support means everything to our channel. Drop your final thoughts in the comments below and share this video with anyone who appreciates true crime investigation. Together, we're making sure these stories are never forgotten and that justice, even decades later, is still possible.